So, Ben, the incredible surroundings of the Royal Albert Hall, another historic all-female card. How special is it to be able to put this show on?
It's massive, to be honest. We do that many shows, and you do big shows, you do world titles, you do not. I can't believe you turned up. Thank you.
Yes, we have to.
Hey. But certain things are special in the calendar, and this is historic. 100 years at the Albert Hall of Boxing, and so many big names: Muhammad Ali and Lennox Lewis and Frank Bruno. So to now be at the point where the first ever female headline fight at the Albert Hall on an all-female card like this, with 50-50 fights from start to finish, it's a big event, and it's a special event.
And this has happened twice, the O2 as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, you were responsible for both. Why is it that you're ahead of the game with putting these all-female shows on?
I just think it's something we're really passionate about, and we've seen the impact that it has on our business as well, in terms of the doors it opens, the broadcasters, the sponsors. I think there's not many sports where women's boxing really rates us and can compete with the men's sport, and we've seen that a lot. We've invested heavily in our talent. We believe we have the best female stable in the world, the elite talent in pretty much every weight category, and the stars of the sport. And so to be able to put on an event like this, to be able to have the fights that we can have, I think it's something that we're proud of. It's something that we focus on, and we see huge growth opportunities with women's boxing.
And you talk of stars of the sport, 2 stars of the sport in that main event: Natasha, Jonas, Lauren Price, 3 of the 4 belts on the line at welterweight. Yeah. How incredible is that as a fight?
Look, that division for me is going to be the future of the women's boxing. I think it's that catchweight where all the big names can get to. For me, the 2 best welterweights in the country, between Lauren and Natasha, then, as you said, the winner comes away with 3 belts, and then the massive fights, massive nights ahead of them. So, yeah, it's exciting. It's always good to unify, but 2 British fighters, for me, probably the biggest female British fight of all time, to be taking place this Friday.
And obviously, you've been very busy lately. I'm sure you get asked about this stuff quite a lot. But just talk us through the turbulent week that you've had, from the egg to the shove to the flinch. What's that been like?
I don't think it's been turbulent. I think it's been great. I think that it was one of the best promotions that we've put on. I think everyone worked really well to create huge headlines and noise, and it was a special week. I think Chris Eubank Jnr ran the week, really. And thanks to him, we have a massive promotion on our hands. So it was an amazing week, the biggest fight in boxing right now, biggest event of the year, and a massive week. So,
would you say, very much perhaps in the tradition of his father, that Chris Eubank Jr might be the best trash talker in the business today?
Well, he's the best talker. He's the best showman. He's the number 1 pay-per-view star outside of the heavyweight division, bar none. But he wants to prove a point now. He wants to create his legacy. He wants to fight Conor Benn. He wants to win against Conor Benn. He wants to fight Canelo. So it's just going to be an exciting 12 months for him.
And do you think there's another non-major world title fight that could have filled a stadium like this one?
No, this is unique. This is ridiculous. This is every generation. This is every audience. This is the biggest event that we'll see this year, without a doubt. And it's amazing to be part of it. It's amazing that a lot of it, I believe, is because of Chris Eubank Jr. And his star power is there for all to see.
And I know obviously there was a lot of chaos, not a lot of time to think when it all kicked off with the egg. But do you kind of, in the immediate aftermath of that, once you've got over the shock, kind of go, that's another 10,000 buys on the pay-per-view, that is another 10,000 seats?
No, to be honest, it was always going to sell this event. Has it gone to another level? 100%. Front page, back page, every newspaper, every man on the street, everyone that's never watched boxing now wants to watch boxing, and that's going to have a massive effect on the whole of the sport. And we're seeing bigger sales in all the events because of the crescendo effect. And I think Chris performed all week, and of course that's going to sell.
And I think one place that maybe you didn't expect to find yourself was sort of coming face to face with Conor. People have said you flinched. I think that's quite natural, considering you're not a boxer and he's a sort of knockout artist.
I don't know if I even flinched. The guy's running at you. Even if you ran at me, I'm not just going to let you run at me.
No, of course.
Right. So it added to the drama. I think Eddie flinched more than me, even though it's his fighter. So But I like Conor Benn in this, like, he's part of the story. He's hot, he's emotional, he's ready to go at all times, and compare that with Eubank, who's calculated and intelligent and eloquent and the showman. It's just two unbelievable personalities clashing, and the subplots, the teams, the promoters. It's just got everything, and yeah, of course, it's not every day that happens, but I enjoyed every minute of the week.
And I'm wondering, obviously Nigel Benn was there at the press event. We haven't heard from Senior yet. There was some talk between the fighters about Senior and his lack of presence. Have you heard from him? And can we expect to see him at some point during the build-up?
We will see him. I think Chris is very important that he's manager of his career. He chooses his camp, he chooses his trainer, but at the same time, that's his dad. He wants his dad in his corner. I think we're going to see it, and we'll see it at the right time. And it's just going to be everything and more, this event. The entertainment plan, the people involved is just out of this world, and we'll see it happen.
And I don't think I've ever seen a fight sort of suck in the promoters as much as it has. Like, you and Eddie have been going back and forth. There was obviously the shove heard around the world. Is this the most rattled you've ever seen Eddie Hearn?
It's not every day a fighter has the balls to stick it on like the way that Chris does. Of course he's rattled, but it's part of the promotion, it's part of the game, it's part of the fact that he's on one side, we're on another, and it's competitive. And Boxer and Matchroom have had a rivalry over the past 3 years, and it's culminating in a huge event on April 26th. There's another big fight on that card with Vidal Riley and Chev Clark, which deserves a press conference of its own. So it's great. I'm glad that we were able to get the fights on now and put the fights on, and that's all that matters, and the rivalry will always be there.
Is that the great thing with what Riyadh season has done for boxing, is the old walls have come down? Now yourself, Frank, Eddie, your fighters all get to mix it up. Has that been the great strength of what Riyadh season's done?
I think so, and it's had an effect on the whole sport, because if you look outside of Riyadh season, I think there's 4 events between Boxer and Queensbury. We don't get on necessarily, but Riat Poracoli, TKV against David Adelaide, Karras against Raven on Friday night, which is a great fight for the card. Ben Witt against Liam Cameron, which is a huge fight on April 20th. So we're seeing it happen, and that's the effect that it's had on the industry, because the barriers are down. As you said, the teams have got to know each other. You'd never have our PR guy speaking to their PR guy and our matchmaker speaking to their matchmaker. The teams have got to know each other. So it's not just about me, Frank and Eddie falling out. The teams now have their relationships, and fights can be made, and it's great for the sport, because we're seeing all the fights that we want to see.
And it's an exciting future, but one man's future I did want to speak to you about. Martin Bakole obviously stepped up to the plate at the last minute. I think we all loved seeing that bravery to take on one of the best heavyweights on the planet. How is Martin after that experience? For me, still the most dangerous heavyweight in the world. He wanted that opportunity. Of course, it was crazy. But I'm hoping that, one, he's put his name out there and everyone knows who Martin Bakole is, which was half of the battle at the start. And now he'll get the fights that he deserves, and the preparation that he deserves. And he fights in May. It'll be on the May 3rd card, which is yet to be announced. So that's all we can do as promoters, provide the opportunities that he wants. But his opportunity now will come, which is the most exciting thing. And hopefully more fighters now are willing to fight Martin. It was a freak incident, it could have happened to anyone. He's got dizzy, it's hit him on the top of the head. It was what it was. But hats off to him, and I'm really looking forward. He's got a lot of pressure now against the jabber. It's a tough fight, and he's got to perform. He can't afford a slip up. And I'm wondering, would you say that a fully prepared Martin Bakole, if he'd have had a full camp for it, do you think he beats Joseph Parker? Absolutely, I do. Yeah, absolutely. And another fight where there was a lot of talk about it for Bakole at one point, Anthony Joshua, do you still think that's a fight that he wins if we see it? Yeah, and I think we can. Look, Martin's got a big fight in May. He comes through that, he's right back in the mix, and we'll see the big fights happen. It'll be interesting to see now what happens with the heavyweight division. Everyone wants to fight each other. Everyone is excited to fight each other. And it's changed. I remember 3 years ago, we couldn't even get Usyk and Fury in the ring. The heavyweight scene was completely stagnant. Now everyone's fighting each other, and that's perfect for Martin Bakole. He gets the preparation now. If he gets a proper camp, we can see the best of him. And one thing I did just want to ask you about, someone who was initially supposed to be on this card at the Royal Albert Hall, but now is not, Savannah Marshall. Can you just tell me a little bit from your perspective of how all that went down?
Look, we've got, all it is simply that our budget was what it was. That happens with promotions. We can only pay what we have in the budget. But we've spoken and we sat down with the manager since. We've got a big opportunity and a big fight to announce in the next couple of weeks, which I'm very, very excited about. Fantastic
stuff. And just last of all, I just wanted to ask, obviously, we've covered incredible main event, some great fights on the undercard. You mentioned Arsenal against Chapman, which is one we're all looking forward to. Putting those fights aside, who do you think fans should be tuning in for? Who do you think stands out on this card?
Listen, I love the Chloe Watson fight against Jasmina. I think it's a fantastic fight, 50-50 fight for the European flyweight title. But then Cindy Ngamba, she comes on fighting Kirsty Babington in a debut. It's unheard of, and there's been a lot of talk about the first refugee to win an Olympic medal, which is incredible in itself, and there's a lot of people talking about you've got to tune in for that. Karis against Raven, as you said, then Caroline Dubois takes on her #1 challenger. She is ready, and she is a star, and she'll be looking to steal the show in the main event. It's just an incredible card, it really is. The atmosphere in the Royal Albert Hall on Friday night will be special. We've got 2,500 coming from Cardiff, 2,500 coming from Liverpool, all in there. It's going to be an absolute cauldron, and I can't wait. It's fantastic for the sport.
It's going to get loud. Ben Shalom, thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you very much. Cheers, mate.